come under the microscope somewhat more because of Dubai. Let's start off with Dubai. I know Qatar isn't Dubai, and you'll be keen to point that out. But how has this affected you and your profile amongst the international investment community?
Well, first of all, we have to realize this is not a crisis as it is overstated. Conceptually, there is an underlying assets. Let's not mix it up with the global financial crisis, which was confined to subprime. That's a paper transaction. Here, you have finance in the form of equity, and you have underlying assets. Clearly, conceptually, this is a debt restructuring process. That's what the definition is all about. Sir. It's a cash flow issue. That's what the problem is all about.
This is a sovereign debt default, isn't it, sir?
It's not. You look at the fine lines between the contract. Everything is driven by contractual obligations. Clearly, contractual due diligence should have been done by the money lenders, whoever is investing or lending. Clearly, conceptually, you have to underline the transaction, which is absolutely clear. This is overstated in retrospect. The knee-jerk impact world over was visible. Qatar is not an exception. The rest of the Gulf is not an exception. And that's why the stock market was taking a downturn in the early week. And clearly, you've seen the recovery yesterday, 6 to 7% recovery. Again, this is, people have realized this is overstated, and the reality remains is a simple cash flow issue.
But you can only say it's overstated when you have clarity on the value of that underlying equity or that underlying asset that you just mentioned. We have no clarity on there because we have a situation where we have a vast amount of oversupply of commercial real estate and property assets, which Nakheel cannot value at the moment due to the fact that there are no willing buyers. You have an illiquid asset, and hence it does become a crisis, sir.
Well, let's understand the overall the scale of the economy. Whether it's United States or United Kingdom or United Arab Emirates, you have to look at the overall macroeconomic fundamentals. 20% last year reported as fiscal surplus as UAE as nation. Conceptually, if you look at the real estate in terms of GDP, it's clearly, from the macro perspective, as UAE as a nation, is minimal. So the impact has been visibly clear. It will be sorted out. There is a creditors meeting scheduled next week, and I'm sure creditors will come to terms and they will understand there is a scope for definite repayment. It's a question of time.
But what about Doha Bank in particular? Because you opened an operation in Dubai a couple of years back, and that was seen as being linked to the financing of a couple of construction projects there. Do you now change your ambitions to be a financier in Dubai, particularly when it comes to property? How has this, for you, changed your plans to expand into this part of the UAE?
Well, we have to realign based on the sectoral risk we see. Conceptually, that's what we have done. Our business model is confined to trade finance. The cross-border lending is confined to trade finance, LCs, guarantees, non-funded business to start with. And there are cross-border transactions taking place. Qatar is doing business in Dubai, and Emiratis coming to Qatar is a normal process. That's what we cater to. And we don't have exposure in the set deal, and Qatari banks have disclosed in clear terms they don't have direct exposure to any of the corporate which has been subject to restructuring.
It's a great opportunity, isn't it, for Doha? I mean, you guys must be rubbing your hands with glee, because now that the UAE Central Bank seems to have mishandled this, and the Dubai construction companies have got egg on their face, this is the chance for Qatar to step in and say, look, we're a safe place, we're the new financial and leisure hub for the Middle East.
Well, we complement each other. Let's put it this way. Conceptually, Qatar is a different business model. It is an industrialized nation. It is very intrinsic. You have got economic progressions the last 8 years, successive surplus budget we demonstrated. Clearly, if you look at logically expand, extrapolate for next 5 years, we are going to have LNG, doubling the existing capacity, oil expansion, petrochemicals. You have an interesting story.
We'll be back. We'll be back with the CEO of Doha Bank in just a moment. Squawkbox Europe at CNBC.com if you'd like to join in the conversation, or if you've got a question indeed for Sonia as well. We'll see you in a moment. Stay with us here on Squawkbox. We'll also talk to the head of DSM, Faiki Sibesman, the chairman of that business, about Doha.
The CNBC